If we won with the team picking that Bill Guerin did, that would be freaky, man. I would freak out. That's where I'm going to make my upset pick.
I'm taking Slovakia.
I'm not a traitor to my country, I promise. I've kind of been betting against the US this entire time.
And then Canada and Finland.
I'm just gonna say Finland.
I think it's going to be the US over Sweden.
It will be a really tight game.
Welcome, everybody! The Olympics are done and dusted. Yeah, I picked wrong. I'm sorry to the American faithful. Your favorite patriot here. We're gonna take a look at some of those games. Pretty good. Olympics, they went our way. How are you feeling? On the other end of the prediction spectrum there.
Oh boy, lots to say. Rest in peace, Finland, but we got a very cinematic finals out of it. No complaints. Very peak.
Yeah, I completely was borderline
Cinema.
dismissive of Finland, and you gave them the respect that they deserved. But yeah, we'll take a look at those scores and get into it here. Okay, starting with those quarterfinals, we'll talk about Finland as mentioned. Switzerland looked like they were going to be the team moving on. They were up 2-0, I believe, all the way into the third period, and then Finland brought it back. They scored 2 straight later in the third. Arturi Lehkonen, adding to his legacy as a very clutch player, scores the overtime winner. Great goal. You can see his resume here with the Canadians. He scored the Eastern Conference Final, technically, winning goal. He scored a couple huge goals on the Avs Cup run the following season, and then he scored this big goal here. It was a pretty good game. I didn't watch every single second of it, I'm not going to lie, but my Swiss, without Kevin Fiala, couldn't keep it going.
Yeah, it looks like Colorado Avalanche have a big knack for getting those important goals late in games to break ties.
Yeah.
As we see here. Then you got Slovakia and Germany, the only non-overtime quarterfinal goal. Still a banger, just it pales in comparison to the other ones. But pretty nice domination by Slovakia there. We got Minnesota Wild prospect goaltending thriving throughout the world. Draisaitl and Seider and the rest of Stützle. The rest of the German crew could not get it done. Slovakia was looking like a machine this entire tournament up to that point. So they took that one pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
And we got USA and Sweden overtime. As I said in my prediction, I have 100% faith that the US will win it, and it's going to be an extremely close game. Down to the wire. And
bang on.
There we have it. Just the two easiest teams to predict. Totally predicted the Quinn Hughes goal as well. Known goal scorer since coming to the Wild, Quinn Hughes. Yeah, that was a beauty.
That was a great game, yeah.
Hopefully X not too injured, and unfortunate for Sweden, but, you know.
It looked like he went down. That was pretty scary, but he, of course, as always, got right back up and continued to play. He looked really good that game just before Quinn Hughes scored that goal. He was all over him, didn't let him get that shot off. Put the clamps on him. Shout out Lucas Raymond. I'll talk about him more a little later. He was fantastic the entire tournament. I was fearing for my life every time he had the puck in our zone. He was their best player by a mile in that game. I did say that the US would beat Sweden. I would like to just put that out there. But it was a banger of a game. I was very disappointed that in the third period that we kind of just played prevent defense basketball term kind of there, but didn't really go for anything aggressive, and we paid for it. We could have totally had this thing wrapped up in regulation if we were a little bit more aggressive, but we got to see a Quinn Hughes overtime winner as a result. I'm not complaining.
For sure.
Last but not least, we've got Canada and Czechia. This game really surprised me. I thought Canada was going to dominate like they did in the groups against Czechia, but Binnington, in his fashion, kind of didn't do great. 21 of 24. Fortunately, Celebrini was clutch. He had 2 points, a bunch of time on ice. Marner grabbed the overtime game-winning goal, his second in the past 2 years. Four Nations also scored a huge goal as well. But the big story coming from this game would definitely be Sidney Crosby's injury. Radko Gudas on a hit kind of collapsed his leg a little bit. It kind of seems like it's a knee injury. I'm not sure. That's not an official story. pure speculation. But yeah, they would end up missing Crosby for the rest of the tournament, and miss him they did. Regardless, though, Canada Czechia, very good game. I think you actually thought it would be pretty close to give you some credit.
I was just checking here. In my original prediction before the Olympics even started, I had this as my third place game with Canada barely winning it. That wasn't included, but that was kind of my thought process. I didn't think it was going to be a total domination, just because we've talked throughout, those underdog teams are a lot more scrappy in
Absolutely.
middle games. Granted, this was quarterfinal, not a medal. Yeah, I was putting respect on Czechia's name. They were definitely not to be slept on, especially with Necas and Pasternak to a lesser extent producing the way they were.
Yeah, coming into these quarterfinals, the Czech Republic and Germany were easily the two most disappointing teams, in my opinion, and Germany kind of continued that trajectory. They flamed out, really didn't put up much of a fight in these Olympics, but the Czech Republic and David Pasternak, who wasn't producing like the superstar he is, both earned my respect in this game against Canada. Yeah, they stayed in until the very end. Very disappointing to see them go home, but yeah, the better team won. You got to give Canada credit where it's due. On to the semis, though.
I see you did there with the better team.
Yeah, that's a nice quote.
The second McKinnon strike, 2 minutes in. Anyways.
In the semis, tale of two games. The United States put belt to ass on Slovakia. The Cinderella run ended like everyone thought it would. And trust me, guys. Kachuk, Eichel, and Thompson, Brady that is, 2 points, goal and assist each. Jack Hughes looked absolutely on fire. It was probably his best game of the tournament.
Maybe.
Werenski with 3 assists. He was also fantastic. And Slavkovsky did grab himself another goal kind of in some garbage time. But that really wasn't the big story. The big story was that next game that came on. It was Canada and Finland.
Oh boy, I had Finland taking this. I really wanted to. I really thought they did. But honestly, it was 2-0. As soon as Canada got that first goal, we were talking about this. I was like, Finland needs at least 2 more goals to win, and they ended up losing, where they would have won with 2 more goals.
Yeah.
Obviously, not surprising that Canada would come back, considering they have some of the most clutch players, especially those overtime beasts. Canada's filled with insane overtime players. They never lose in overtime, especially 3-on-3. Jokes aside, though, it was very close. Nathan McKinnon showed that he can score those tie-breaking goals. You
can rely on him.
Always 99 out of 100. Okay. Stop now. Anyways, enough bragging, finally. McDavid 2 assists, breaks that point record. Not even in the finals game yet. I'm sure he got more in the Okay. We're done.
Bennington.
I'll let you do this.
He was 15-17. Really, this shouldn't have been a game if you look at the shot totals exclusively. I don't think he really gave up any softies per se, but you just kind of want, 17 shots on goal. You have like 40. You should be winning that game comfortably. They didn't win it comfortably at all. Saros on the other end looked very solid, like 39 shots faced. Would have loved to see him save that McKinnon goal, that clutch Nathan McKinnon goal at the end, but he couldn't get it done. No worries, though. Fair play to Finland. We got to see the gold medal game that we wanted in USA versus Canada. As a result, very thankful for that. But yeah, this high stick here, I did want to point that out. Obviously, a penalty, freeze frame it on that. I did see a lot of discussion, though, online that McKinnon was actually the one that lifted Mikola's stick. I'm not going to throw out accusations. I don't have a video for you, but you can be the judge. You can look that up on your own time. That does kind of change things if he did do that. But we'll talk about his performance in the next game now instead. In the medal round, we've got... Well, we'll go over the bronze real quick first because that's worth it. Slovakia really did just kind of flame out, that was the word I'll use again here, after those quarterfinals. Their Cinderella run came to a very, very, very abrupt end. They got dominated by Finland. Again, the better team won. Armia, 3 points. Erik Haula, legacy game, 2 goals. Miro Heiskanen, 3 assists. Saros locked down again. It wasn't like Slovakia didn't get any offense. They had 31 shots. Hlavai did not do so good in this medal game, but he had a lot working against him, so can't really blame him too much. Young AHL goalie, put up a great fight throughout the Olympics. Slovakia was a great story. Any comments on that bronze medal game?
Yeah, this was definitely some of their toughest competition in Finland, getting that redemption win to at least come out with bronze. Like you said here, I think Slovakia had already felt defeated, losing that badly to the U.S. in the semis. And then I think Finland felt they still had more to prove after choking that lead they had against Canada, who were definitely the heavy favorites coming into this entire tournament. So good for Finland. I had no dog in this fight. I didn't really care. I wanted a good game. It was not a great game, but it was still fun to watch. I think a lot of people had U.S., Canada, Finland, Sweden as the top four, like in Four Nations. And no disrespect to Sweden, I love Sweden. They're my second favorite team. But seeing a bronze medal game that's not both those teams is always fun to see. Fun to shake up the tournament, and hopefully more like that in the future. So I think nothing too bad with that game. Like you said, Halava wasn't a great game, but the rest of the tournament he still had a great showing there. So yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, Slovakia beating Finland in that first game actually set up this entertaining bronze medal match because they got to win the group. So yeah, again, shout out to them. But now we can move on to the game everybody's really here for. What we all actually want to talk about, the gold medal game. And let me just say, watch the start to finish. It was absolutely peak the entire time. We come out hot with our very own Matt Boldy, just dominating, fantastic goal. If you have only seen it 10 times, go watch it again for an 11th. It was beautiful. Great start to the game. You thought, you know what, the U.S. are really going to put up a strong fight here. They might win this one. It's going to be pretty even. It wasn't even. It really wasn't. We ended up with a decent shot total, but Canada was really giving it to us, I think, offensively. They had lots of chances, particularly this Nathan MacKinnon one with the gaping cage, but Hellebuck was there for all of them, or the side of the net was. He was great. He looked like the goalie everybody wants him to be come playoff time. This is very funny as a rival of the Winnipeg Jets to see him put on this performance. Hopefully he does not do that in the Jets jersey again. I'm not really worried about them in the playoffs this year, though, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
I think we're safe this year unless they pull in some St. Louis Blues magic from last year to get into playoffs.
Possible, I guess. Not probable.
As the likely not first seed in the division, it won't be our problem to worry about them, so...
Yeah. Anyways, back to the gold medal game. Yeah, it was a Canadian clinic really for the final two periods. They looked great. We didn't really do a ton, but I will say, Jack Hughes was probably our best player that game. When we were getting offensive chances or holding on to that puck, it was because of him. He was skating circles around people in the zone. But yeah, we ended up pulling this one away in overtime. Jack Hughes with a great goal, very exciting. Great overtime play. I can't believe we beat Makar, MacKinnon, McDavid on a 3-on-3 overtime setting. Huge win for the United States and United States hockey. I did not expect that to happen. Obviously, you did. You said it was going to be this gold medal game. You said it would be close. You said the United States would win. Credit where it's due. Makar got the goal to tie it for Canada. Celebrini missed a breakaway, technically a rebound shot on the breakaway too, but he had 6 shots on goal in 22 minutes of time on ice. Phenomenal the entire tournament. I was heartbroken to see him lose.
Yeah, it was there. I mean, the scriptwriters cooked with this. I don't know what they were on, what they were smoking, but this was definitely worth the 46-year wait. Obviously, we're that old, so we've been waiting the whole time.
Of course.
Yeah, just like you said, all that throughout. The Makar goal was kind of a garbage goal, actually. It was a really well placed shot, but it was definitely like out of the 5 pretty high danger, extremely high danger goals that could have been let in. I think this is kind of the least out of all of them. But yeah, there's so much to go over here. We have the Boldy goal, obviously undressing, arguably the best pair of D in the NHL. Him and Jack Hughes, we both kind of foreshadowed that they would, step up more. Boldy's been quiet the whole tournament. Jack Hughes has been cooking, but not too much on the score sheet to show for it until this game. But there's so much stuff here. The 5-on-3 penalty kill, the McDavid breakaway on top of the Celebrini breakaway, obviously the insane stick check on Taves in front of the open net. Another open net by another. Take a shot every time we diss Nathan MacKinnon in this video.
I will say on that save, that one's more of a great save than like a bad shot by Devon Taves.
It was a perfectly placed shot.
Oh yeah.
There's like no other goalie saving that.
Yeah, I mean the angle. He didn't have a ton of space to shoot. If he really wanted to get it over his stick, there's a good chance it goes over the net. But yeah, it was a great save. Still though, when you're right in front of the net like that, not a great look. Not a great look when your teammate does that in the same period. But anyways, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then going back to the overtime game winner, this entire play was Jack Hughes. The defensive effort on McDavid, and then the poke check from McCarr, and then obviously the finish to score the goal. That was all Hughes the entire time. Like you said, him, and then obviously credit to Hellebuck. Definitely his best game ever.
For sure.
No question there. So yeah, it was a pretty insane game, start to finish. I actually did not watch it live. I had some bar trouble the night before. I was not up at that time in the morning, but I did get my glimpse of it, my extended recap. So I got to watch about like half of the unedited game, and then obviously every single highlight multiple times. So not a total fraud watcher.
I fully was watching it.
Fully
Jumped
watching it.
jumped up around the house when Boldy and Hughes scored those goals. Even though my sisters were having a sleepover in the basement, I woke the entire house up with that Boldy goal. So, and I don't feel bad. I never said sorry or anything. It was worth it. Again, watch the goal. Go click off this video, watch it, and come back right now.
It's insane. We'll leave the link for that.
It was ridiculous.
Gotta watch it.
I do want to give some apologies, actually. Apology first to Sidney Crosby in his Olympics, which could very well be his last, definitely his last in an impactful role, that he couldn't be healthy for the knockout rounds and the gold medal game. I think it would have honestly made a difference. Apologies to Connor Hellebuck, to Austin Matthews for doubting you. They're not big game players. They showed up and showed out the entire Olympics, disproving that very quickly. Apologies to Nathan McKinnon for trusting you. He definitely, when we're having the 19-year-old be the guy that steps up big in the absence of Sidney Crosby, instead of who's supposed to be the best player in the world, take home the Hart Trophy and the Rocket Trophy this year, you kind of have to ask some questions at a certain point, especially with that big moment that he's going to see in his dreams for the rest of his life. Apologies, I didn't say this yet, to Macklin Celebrini for not winning. Wish he would have. If he was playing any other team. Apologies to the United States for doubting you, being unpatriotic or whatever. Apologies to Bill Guerin for criticizing the team picking.
He cooked.
He did. JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck were actually crucial to the team winning. Perfect on the PK the entire tournament. You don't have a perfect PK with Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson as good as those guys are. We can nitpick, guys they could have been in over anyways, but that's besides the point. We won the gold. Who cares? And then, apologies to Canadian fans, because I don't want to hear any excuses from this gold medal game. Like we talked about, there's every opportunity in the world. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck stood on his head, but it wasn't just that they got goal lead. They had a 5-on-3. They had a power play with 3 minutes left in the game. And if you're that much better, if you're the odds-on favorite, you have the best 4 players in that game, head over heels, you should be winning that. They fully should have won that game. I've seen complaints about 3-on-3 overtime. Don't get me wrong, that's not the best way to settle it, but 2010 was 4-on-4. That's never been a thing in the NHL. And your 3-on-3 first unit is, again, the 3 best players in that game. If you should have realistically won that. So I'm ready for all the smoke there when it comes to that gold medal game. I'll talk my shit now that we won. I'm a fair weather fan or whatever. Honestly, can't do anything but just be embarrassed that you lost and complain and cry about it,
Yeah, you can be the better team, but if you really wanted to win, you should have won. That's what it comes down to, basically. Yeah. And with all those chances, all those what ifs, there's a good amount of what ifs on the U.S. team too. Crosby being injured. Oh, we didn't have more guys showing up. Whatever. Just a lot of stuff there. And obviously, Binnington's big moment guy, Hellebuck's not, and then roles are reversed. McDavid shows a little bit of a chink in the armor, getting all flustered near the end of the game in overtime, taking it by himself, turning the puck over. So a lot of stuff that if the Canadian team was more composed, they could have won that game, but they didn't because the U.S. stayed strong. They bent and didn't break. Very symbolic to the USA as well, whatever.
The brotherhood.
Their brotherhood.
As much as I've been trashing Jordan Binnington, and I will continue to do so until the end of time, he was good in this game for the most part, I would say. Technically, that gold medal winning goal, kind of a weak give up by him. He's got his stick there, 5-hole to stop the shot. It slips through anyways after hitting his stick. You don't want to give that one up, no shit. didn't face a huge workload again. I really think he ended the Olympics with decent numbers. I think he had like a 918 save percentage, like 1.8 GAA, but he was farming against terrible countries in the group stage, and then he gave up low goal scoring numbers in the throughout the knockout round because Canada just had the puck the majority of the time. They kept it out of his zone. I mean, I don't know. I think his PR team really carried him into this tournament. And he had a decent game in the gold medal game, his best game of the tournament for sure. But he was underwhelming in the rest of them. They should have comfortably won against the Czech Republic and Finland. I didn't think he was very good. But we'll move on to some players that were definitely very good. We've got the team of the tournament here. Connor Hellebuyck, team of the tournament goalie, obviously. He had a 950 save percentage, 1.18 GAA. Definitely carried us in that gold medal game, got us the gold. Like we said, Jack Hughes was great. Matt Boldy had a great play, but there's no way in hell he won that gold without Hellebuck's performance. Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, the two best defensemen in the world, are your defenders on that all-star team. Hughes had 8 points, most for a defenseman in the tournament. I think most by an American defenseman ever. Definitely most assists. Makar had 2 goals and 6 points. He was actually super underrated on that Canadian team. You know, you had the McKinnon, Celebrini, McDavid line that really stole the show, but he had some clutch goals throughout. I thought he played really, really good. He just kind of took a back seat to the superstar forwards on the team. Nothing wrong with that. And then as we're talking about the superstar forwards, McDavid and Celebrini also get on that all-star team. McDavid has the Olympic record, 13 points, craziness. Just was a man on a mission again. It was much like his time with the Oilers, just doing everything he could. Couldn't get it done though. Wasn't his fault, I would say. But yeah, he did good. I do feel a little bit bad for him as well. The best player in the world, clearly, displayed at this Olympics. Celebrini, the future king to be crowned, I would say, after this tournament. He had goals in the first 4 games. It was absolutely insane. Super clutch. Filled in for Crosby. Kind of looked like the second coming of him that people have been claiming he is. I thought he was excellent. And then Slafkovsky already has 11 Olympic goals at age 21.
Insane.
He was super good. He was the reason Slovakia was that upset team. That's your all-star team. Did you have any other players you wanted to mention or any other things you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, it's still weird seeing Celebrini in this place. Everyone's like, oh, he's 19, oh, he's 19, he's 19. But you kind of just have to come to terms with that. When you have true superstar talent, they're dominant as soon as they come into the league, and that's what he is.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that team here. It is a little weird seeing Slafkovsky in there since he's kind of a sleeper pick in the NHL. Yeah, undeniably top 3 forward in this tournament, like you said, carried the team of Slovakia. So yeah, I think this is definitely the best possible comprised line in the tournament, and shout out Quinn Hughes being on that all-star team as well. I don't think he's doing this good if we didn't trade him, or if he wasn't traded to the Wild. He stepped up so much. He's been able to elevate his game as a cause of that, doing less carrying of a shitty team and being able to actually grow as a player. Because when Hughes is still 26, he's just now entering his prime.
Agreed.
Or you could argue that he's already in his prime for a couple of years. Prime's 23 to 29, whatever. Yeah, definitely he's been cooking, following that same pattern since he joined the Wild, so love that team. And then obviously Hellebuyck, like you said, 9.56, 1.18 is insane. In 5 games played too, not a super small sample size. So, yeah, that's Olympics, go USA.
I said I would mention him later. I'm going to. If you had to guess what Lucas Raymond's stat line was in 5 games, what would you guess?
Ooh. What would I guess? He was all over the ice. I'm going to say he was, I believe, completely silent in the US game, so we're going off of 4 games here. I'm gonna say he was 2 and 5.
Lucas Raymond had 1 goal. He had 8 assists. And 9 points. So I would not.
Oh boy.
I honestly wouldn't throw him in here. I think Slafkovsky was more important to Slovakia. They got further in the tournament. I'm not going to argue that. He did have the assist and made the play on the US game, by the way. He wasn't completely silent, but he's that next man up on this list, but I believe he was so fantastic. It was great to put him on that best contract list and have it justified in this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
He was so good. He was so good.
Hearing that, I would definitely put him 4th or 5th interchangeably with Jack Hughes. Do love that.
That is completely fair.
That's my pick.
Yeah. We are going to transition now. The Olympics are done. We're going back to wild hockey. Where we soaked it in a little bit here. I'm kidding a little. But we are going to take a look at Cole's trade deadline. We're going to do a bit of an exercise. Ideal trade deadline, what we want to see, how it happens, some justification, standard stuff. We're going to get into that now.
Yeah, so I do apologize for this cookie cutter deadline, as I've been putting out pretty outlandish bracket predictions in NHL and Olympics and just doing a whole lot of bullshit. But I think I have a lot of reason here. I was actually going to do something slightly different before the Olympics were kind of underway. But here's the scenario. Bill Guerin is the Team USA GM. He sees Vincent Trocheck winning, I think, nearly 70% of his faceoffs. And it's not like there's a lack of center depth in this tournament. These are all like pretty top tier guys, first and second liners, against most of his draws, at least on their NHL respective teams.
For sure.
So yeah, he was moving insane there. So I do have Vincent Trocheck to the Wild for Ryan Hartman and Charlie Stramel. Now I do hate this, but the Rangers do not have a lot of center depth. They also have not a lot of cap space. So Hartman replacing Trocheck, taking off $1.6 million, and then we also keep some of his retention, $250K over the next 2 years for $1.5 million total. I think the Wild can spare that much, and I think Bill Guerin will want to spare that much to have a pretty good face-off guy. I think in the NHL this season he's sitting at like 57, 58 in the dot, which is pretty insane. So I think Bill Guerin's going to be salivating over that. He's going to be like, oh, look at all these games we won. And we did in that penalty kill. We won like 3 draws to get 3 straight clears in those penalties, shaving off nearly a minute of time across all those. So I think Bill Guerin will love that pick. After watching some more Charlie Stramel NCAA puck, this does pay me, but it also makes me pretty confident that he will be an asset that the Rangers are also looking at. And then I threw in a 4th for 2026. The Rangers actually do not have a 4th round pick anymore. They have 3 thirds. So I'm thinking we can get away with giving them a 4th instead of a 3rd, since they already have 3 of those. And no 4th, kind of get like a little deeper depth pick there. So yeah, that's my trade here. Trocheck to the Wild for Hartman with about, quick math here, I think that's like, it's 19% of his salary. Rights to Stramel and a pick, 4th round in 2026, and we will win the Stanley Cup.
That actually, I really am seeing this trade. I think that makes a lot of sense. With the package they got back for Panarin, that's, I mean, obviously the contract situation and there's no move clause. It does make sense why it was so little, but I do think that's going to take away a bit from what he would get for Trocheck. And then you add on the retention. That's an asset in itself. Obviously, the Rangers with Panarin gone, they're not exactly super cap strapped anymore, I don't think. But yeah. Is that $375K over the next 2 years, is what you said? Or is it
$750, so $1.5 million over the next 2 years.
Oh, $750K a year. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, but they are projected to have $1.6 million cap space, even after that Panarin trade. They were like pretty much negative before the trade, so I think they're still looking to free up some more space, which is why I put that in there. And then I do want to touch on not giving them Wallstedt or any other goalie, even our Halava prospect after that tournament. The Rangers have a lot of goalies somewhere. I think they have like 7 or 8 goalies, either rights or minors or draft picks. And obviously they have one of the best goalies in the world, and then Jonathan Quick as well, backing them up. So I was going to originally throw Wallstedt or Halava in there instead of either Stramel and part of the retention for Hartman, or even the pick, just maybe Hartman and Wallstedt. But I don't think the Rangers need goalies. I think they need cap space, and I think they need centers and picks. So that's what I gave them.
Now knowing that cap space that they have, that's even more valuable of an asset. I think this would fully work, especially because the Rangers staff and Guerin are going to be super chummy after the Olympics. The Rangers staff, including Trocheck. He's going to want this deal. I think this makes complete sense. 10 out of 10 for realism. We're going to go over to mine here now.
Let's get a little crazy.
Okay, here we go. So this is my ideal trade deadline. I actually have 2 trades on here. I'm covering up some of the names, but I don't want to spoil anything. I bet you guys can tell where this is going, but whatever. The Wild currently have about 3.1 million cap space. Technically at the deadline, given the point that they've paid a certain amount of everybody's contract, they will have about 10 million in cap space as far as like AAV they can add on. They could trade for a guy with $10 million AAV and he would fit within the cap if they gave up absolutely nothing. So there's some decent amount of space at the deadline, some room to work with. And we've got a lot that we need. Consistent first-line center production being one of those big needs. I think really to make this team a true contender, the right player to play with Kirill and Zuccarello, because those guys aren't going to get separated. You need a guy who can win faceoffs so they can have the puck, have that possession, make things happen, and make up for some lapses and turnovers on the defensive side, while also being a very skilled offensive contributor that can play with those dudes and the passing in the game, the puck IQ that they have. When they have the puck, that is. And then to add on, face-off wins. We look at the face-off win percentage here. Hartman, 43, Ek, 49, which is around his usual, but that's the highest on the team, which is unacceptable. Yurov's got 39, and Sturm actually does have 55 on the fourth line. But that's your fourth line center. He's not going to be moved up the lineup. We're 31st in the NHL at second bottom in team face-off win percentage at 46.4%. Unacceptable in the playoffs. You play Dallas, you play Colorado, you play whoever. They're going to probably have a better team face-off than us. They're going to have a guy in there that's sitting at a 55% that plays regular minutes. That's just going to torch us, especially on that top line. Depth scoring, Tarasenko's been really good. He's on pace for 22 goals, 46 points, and Yurov has his moments, but he's still very young. But the rest of the bottom six can't really be relied upon for to chip in offensively, and that's something you need on a deep playoff run. You can maybe get away with it in one series, but if you want to win a couple of rounds, you go all the way like the Wild do, you're going to need guys like on your third and fourth line to be putting in some goals here and there, and I don't think we really have the capability to be able to trust that we can do that. So, with that being said, let's get into the trades. The first one is a ginormous trade. We're going to be trading with our division rival, the St. Louis Blues. We're going to get Robert Thomas and their young goalie Joel Hofer. And I know that Blues fans rebuilding aren't going to want to give him up, but they will be getting a whole fucking haul for him. They're going to get Ryan Hartman. They're going to get Jesper Wallstedt, David Jiricek, Charlie Stramel, 27 first, 28 second, and 28 third. Now, this is way too much to give up for Robert Thomas alone, even though he's a really good first-line center that has a controlled cap hit for an extended period of time. You do not need to give up all this for him. A lot of this is because of Hofer as well. You're adding on those draft picks to make sure you can get him. You don't have to get Binnington instead. And I really think that this trade would go through. I don't know if this is realistic. I don't know if this is the swing that we take. I hope it is. Truly, I do. But I think that if they were to go to the Blues, they would ask for something like this, and it sounds crazy, but I think that Bill Guerin would have the balls to do that, seeing the Quinn Hughes trade. And I think this works for a lot of reasons. David Jiricek's brother is a defenseman in the St. Louis Blues system. He had a great World Juniors. The idea of that could be enticing. He still has some name value, being the 5th overall pick in 2022. Wallstedt, obviously, maybe the hottest goalie name on the market right now. And the Blues would love to have him on their younger core. Hartman plays fantastic against the Blues. He's just more of a warm body than the rest of the guys on here, but he would be a good lineup filler. Not a huge risk. You only have to pay him for one more year after that. Charlie Stramel, good big center, probably bottom 6. You've got some young guys on that team already that would be ahead of him in the lineup, and that's fine. Charlie Stramel's not going to be a huge top 6 contributor in the NHL, I don't think. And then your draft picks, I think that's enough of a haul to be able to get the better of the two goalies. Hofer is a really good backup. He's got like a high 890s, almost a 900 save percentage on what is a dog shit St. Louis team. And then I think this works from a cap perspective because you only lose about, I think, 1.4, 1.6, right around there for the Wild, 1.6 million that is. And then Robert Thomas fits the mold perfectly of that first line center that I was talking about that can play with Kirill and Zuccarello. He's great defensively. He's an offensive contributor, lots of assists. He's just going to be feeding pucks to Kaprizov and Quinn Hughes. And yeah, I think although it's a lot again, a lot quantity wise, the Blues are going to want an overpay on paper for their franchise number one center that's 26 years old, cap controlled at a relatively cheap hit for the next several years. But we would be giving them that in this deal. But there's a chance the Blues are just like, no, we can't give our division rival that. But there's a world where I can see this happen, and we'll just leave it at that for now.
I'm gonna go here. Let's see. I'm gonna give this a grade. I was thinking I'll start with what I like here. Obviously number one center. We need that. Face-off winner plus a goal scorer. More than just Trocheck is a more defensive guy. But a face-off winner. So I do like that depth center line scoring there. And then Joel Hofer obviously getting an actual replacement for Wallstedt, maybe an upgrade. We do love that as well. The Blues are also negative in their cap space right now, so I do like that. Taking away some of that cap space, putting it onto our plate, since we do have some free space there. So I do like all that. The issues I have with this trade, Hartman to the Blues, like you said, the Blues hate him. I think they might hate him so much that they might not even want him. Or if they do take him, they might just take him and then give him straight away to another team, which would lose value for them. One more thing I like here, going back to the draft picks, the Blues do actually have a couple of their near future second and third round draft picks taken up by other teams. They do have a lot of depth draft picks, but getting, like we have here, some first, seconds, and thirds, I think they will really like that. My problem here is giving up our picks into 2028. I think you're going a little too far into the future then, because I think picks in that point will be when we'll want to start looking at a rebuild after. I think these next couple of years we're gonna be looking at not giving up draft picks anymore. So I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I do like this. It looks scary on paper with the quantity, but sure. I do think obviously a star, arguably the Blues' best player, best center for sure, probably best forward, and a goalie of equal or greater value. Do like that. So yeah, good 8 out of 10. I do think this could happen, like you said. I think Bill Guerin obviously signing Hughes, extending Kaprizov to that insane number. Not as insane when you see the cap space rising, but yeah, 8 out of 10. I do like that.
I
wouldn't mind it.
No, for sure, not at all. I will say, flipping Hartman would be kind of like whatever. You would gain some cap space there if they do that for like picks, which is a possibility. But I'm not going to die on any hill. I think this is a good deal. I really, really, really want Robert Thomas. I think he extends our contention window, whether or not Quinn Hughes gets re-signed, which is honestly, I think, looking pretty likely at this point. Knock on wood here. But I think this is like the perfect deal. It shows Quinn Hughes that we're legit about this Stanley Cup window. But we've got more to cover here. We've got another trade.
Robert Thomas is currently injured right now.
I don't like that. Yes, that's right. He is. Very, very important to highlight, but I don't think
Still
the
good.
Timetable is like out until the playoffs. But
he's young. That
hurt.
Shouldn't matter.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a recurring thing. Second trade here, we're going to go right at the deadline because if we didn't, we would not have the cap space to make this work. We're going to trade for Calgary Flames center Morgan Frost, and we're going to give up Hunter Haight and more draft picks. And the bottom here, this conditional 2027 third, I don't think I have it written down. Okay, I do. On the 27th third, it becomes the 2028 first if the Wild make the Cup Finals in either this year or next year.
Ooh.
And that is really scary on a lot of levels. Then you have no first round pick until 2029. Like you said, that's a real concern. We would have like literally no money in salary cap space. But I think there's some positives here too. He's a 55% face-off win. Thomas, for context, is like mid to like lower mid
52 there.
Yeah. Okay. So now we go from one of the worst teams on paper face-offs to one of the best. You get to move Yurov to the wing, which I think would be better for the team come playoff time. He's not a liability per se, just because he has a great two-way game, but sub 40% of the face-off dot is like kind of a glaring hole when you look at weaknesses on this team. He puts up 18 goal, 40-point pace so far this year on a shit Flames team, and I think that he could do a little bit better with us, and he really upgrades our bottom six. Again, lots to give up draft pick wise. It could possibly be a rental, like a year and a half long rental, but still rental nonetheless. You lose Hunter Haight, who I think is our most promising center prospect, not named Charlie Stramel. You have to break up the Krem line if you add Morgan Frost to the team, which could be an issue in its own right. And the conditions again on that first round, on that pick are pretty crazy. What would you grade this trade here?
I would grade it honestly probably a 7 out of 10. I would say 8 out of 10 in terms of like the trade itself, except it's not like as important. We're not getting a top center. He is better in the dot, but he is also 3C, so he has a little less competition there. I think Yurov the wing is great. He's a great center in every aspect besides the fact that he cannot win in the dot at all. So I think having him play a great two-way game as a winger, there's no problem with that. Like you said, breaking up the Krem line, their chemistry, especially coming back recently, they had like a month stretch where they were doing like after that super hot stretch. Now they're like back to I think pretty consistent average production. Like we said, slightly below average for a third line, but definitely bearable. What I love about this trade is Calgary will be salivating over this. More picks. I mean, greed. They have 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years, 4 second rounds, not including this. They have a ton of cap space.
Tank.
Like, just keep tanking. Give up more. Let's get more. We're going to be the 2032 Stanley Cup champions. Save that.
Hold on. I'll wait to keep that one.
I think Calgary will love that. And like you said, it will be a rental. So I kind of think if we do this, we'll do some other stuff too. I don't really like Hunter Haight. He's fine, but I don't mind giving him up at all. So yeah, I like this trade. I just give it a 7 out of 10 just because I don't think it's a super meaningful trade, considering that I think we do need to make some big moves. But yeah, definitely like that one.
Hunter Haight, I will add. Calgary's not going to be salivating over him necessarily either. I mean, he could be a good middle six center. I really think he's going to be a third line guy. He's max effort, wall to wall, 100% speed. He's a guy that you give minutes to on a tanking team like this. Could be a big part of their future. I think, like you said, this would be a deal that Calgary would be very interested in, especially when you start talking conditions on that pick. And Morgan Frost is not going to be a guy that's going to stick around till you're good. He's going to be in his early, mid 30s by the time Calgary's any good. So he's a valuable asset that I think you give up to a playoff team like the Wild. You trade Nazem Kadri, whatever. We could go into that on a separate time. But that's my second and final trade. We'll kind of look here at the construction of the lineup real quick. I would say the Krem line on the third line is better than our bottom six, updated here with Morgan Frost, than either of those two lines, Yurov, Frost, Tarasenko, or Trenyan, Sturm, Foligno. But I think our bottom six on average is significantly better with Morgan Frost than without if we don't do this trade. Hinostroza gets to be that 13th forward that I think he fits that role perfectly. Trenyan, Sturm, Foligno are just an amazing defensive line, super hard to play against. You've got kind of some built-in chemistry there, I like to think. And then you look at the decor doesn't change, but you've got a reliable enough backup in Joel Hofer there come playoff time. And this is fully a cup or bust move, as would be a caveat I would like to make. Like both the Thomas trade obviously is the big indicator there, but even the Frost trade in some aspects too. Like you need to win the Stanley Cup if you're gonna go this aggressive at the deadline. You want to keep Quinn Hughes, yada yada yada. I think this is the way to fully go in. No half measures at this deadline, and I think this is how you do it.
Yeah, I do like combining those two trades. I'd definitely put it up to an 8.5. The bright side here is our 2028 first round and our entire 2029 draft pool is untouched. So it is just a second and third in 2028. I do not care at all what happens in the next 2 years for our draft picks.
Yeah.
Those do not matter at all to us. They matter to the teams we're getting players from. And like you said here, the bottom six overall will have like a slight upgrade in scoring and a big upgrade in the dot. And then obviously there's the top line will be clicking. Because we see here kind of a trend throughout our season that Kaprizov and Zuccarello, they're producing a lot more against bad teams. And that's not because they're like toilet bowl players. It's that bad teams typically on average have worse centers and also worse players, so we get the draws more and we get the puck in the ozone more. And what happens when we have the puck in the ozone? We have Kaprizov and Zuccarello scoring.
Yeah.
So I think having a guy who can get them that puck against good teams and not relying on our second line for pretty much all of our scoring against those top teams would be a great thing to have. So yeah, overall, love the trades, both of them combined. And going back on my trade with Trocheck, It was kind of like a safety cookie cutter trade.
More realistic.
More realistic. I would also add there that I would not be surprised at all if we trade for even make like one or two other trades to fill up that bottom six. I just don't have anyone in particular. I do like that Morgan Frost shout. Is a little expensive, but you know,
For sure.
we don't care about that. We care about now.
Yeah.
And then one other thing about the D, if we're healthy, I love our D core.
Oh yeah.
Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, Jonas Brodin, Jared Spurgeon, and then the bottom of maybe Zach Bogosian, Middleton,
Damon Hunt.
Whatever.
Throw in.
Any of those three, I think can work.
That's a
So-
serious Stanley Cup contender decor right there.
Yeah.
And goalie tandem.
Yeah, the insane best or second best, I would say, top line in the NHL. And then a very good, one of the best shutdown second lines. And then obviously good goalie tandem. We know Gus is good in big games. He was a little shaky in the Olympics, but overall, he wasn't bad.
I don't think.
And he's still growing too. He's still entering his prime. So it's like
For goalies, it's so different. He's 27. He's literally just entering it. You can't argue that for a goalie. I think, and we'll say this very quietly, kind of like you alluded to, Matt Zuccarello in the playoffs, like you're saying, playing good teams without a center that can win you the majority of the draws could be a liability. There's a reason we saw last year that they went at Kaprizov, Boldy, and they torched the Golden Knights, and Zuccarello got bumped down the lineup. He doesn't play defense at his age, that's fine. He is really just out there to pass to Kaprizov, again, fine. But if he doesn't have the puck to pass it to him, he's not doing a ton out there, in my personal opinion. You need a guy that's going to win the majority of his draws to feed him the puck, to feed Kaprizov the puck. And I think either Vincent Trocheck or Robert Thomas would be capable of doing that and really elevate this team and their top six. I like all these trades. I would be shocked if it's not Trocheck, Thomas, or O'Reilly that we're getting. If it's anything less than that, I really don't like our Stanley Cup odds, to be completely honest. But I fully expect it to be one of those three. I have faith in Bill Guerin, and I'm very excited about the deadline, if you guys can't tell.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only bad thing we can do is not trade.
Yeah.
Given Bill Guerin's track record these past 2 years, I think that's 0% chance of happening. And yeah, like you said, with one of those guys, either you have Robert Thomas, who's slightly worse than the dot, but way better offensively. That leads to puck and ozone. Or Trocheck, who's very good at defensive, winning puck battles, and better in the faceoff dot. Zuccarello doesn't pass to anyone that's not named Kirill Kaprizov, so it doesn't matter who's in the ozone with him. As long as they're
That's
there,
true,
right?
that's true.
And yeah, like you said, going back, so about that, it doesn't matter. I think anyone will work there, just better than Hartman.
Yes.
And then going back to your mention about Kaprizov, Boldy, Ek, it's a damn good top line.
Oh, it's
I
so
think
good.
best case scenario is like our future 1C, Boldy, Kaprizov. But that splits our depth. That has our top players playing a lot of minutes against probably going to be some grindy teams and grindy series. Doing that all the way to the cup is not going to work. Obviously, case in point, Edmonton Oilers. They're a very top-heavy team, and they can't win the cup, probably because of that. Goaltending not included. So, yeah, trade for a center. That's all we need. And also, like you said, you're off to wing, I think could be a very good pick. So if we get two centers, that could happen. And if we do it at the deadline, obviously can't do it after the deadline, but I think they'll give us a couple months for that new bottom six to work. Bill Guerin, once we're comfortably in whatever playoff spot we are going to be in, I think we'll do a lot of shuffling around with that bottom six to find a new good pairing. And then, obviously, we've talked about this a lot, but as long as Tarasenko, Johansson, Yurov, those guys are producing at a decent level into the playoffs, I think we'll have the production to make a deep run with these trades.
I fully agree. Yeah, I'd like to see this happen. It's relevant to mention that I did the Thomas trade literally, like I said it for the day you got back from the Olympics or whatever, just because I really want to see it happen and I was curious about the cap hit. If you do that, Morgan Frost needs to be like a deadline day move. You can see the projected cap hit. There would be like 80,000. You can rework the IR and whatnot a little bit. You can have almost 400K there. Either way, it's not a lot of money. You need to trade Morgan Frost at the deadline if you want to add another piece. Yurov to wing is not essential, but I think it's the margins that make a big difference. Either way, I think you only see Kaprizov, Boldy, regardless who your 1C is, in like big moments when you need them late in games, like the Oilers do with McDavid and Draisaitl stacking them when the goalie's pulled or whatnot. But I think this is maybe the best possible Minnesota Wild team. Having a first line center of like a Trocheck or a Thomas, adding a depth center so Yurov can be moved to wing is probably the best version of the Minnesota Wild come playoff time, and I really want to see that happen. If you're going to make a trade like Quinn Hughes, you should be serious about it, and I think that Bill Guerin fully will be, and my expectations are very, very high.
Oh yeah. One more time, it comes down to bring that dot percentage up, bring the depth scoring up, don't touch the D at all. Maybe trade Wallstedt because we'll get a lot for him.
Yeah.
But still get a good goal in return because Gus is not going to play every game. High expectations, high hopes. Hopefully one of these trades kind of happens at least and we get out of the first round.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. Good episode. One more, please, the worst thing that they can do is trade Jesper Wallstedt to a goalie desperate team like the Ottawa Senators for like a Dylan Cousins. Trade him to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Boone Jenner. Trade him for 40-year-old Ryan O'Reilly. Don't use that Wally piece very wisely because he's super good. If he doesn't have to be traded, I don't want him to be fucking traded. Are you kidding me? But yeah, you nailed all those points there. We're going to call it right here. That was a great episode. Huge Olympics. Huge deadline right on the way. We've got a really fun few weeks of hockey coming up. Looking forward to it, and we will see you guys next time with some more recaps. Thank you for watching, and peace.
Peace.